All right, album review time for Chromakopia by Tyler, the Creator. This is going to be kind of a tough video because it's going to be long. And sometimes with these videos, with these album, the additional thoughts, the reviews, I think about them quite a lot. And sometimes I essentially like make the video in my head, while I'm driving home. And boy, sometimes in my head, it just sounds so good and I sound so smart and articulate. And then I get home and I sit down in front of my camera and I think to myself, God damn, my head is shining. So I have some notes up. But really, I think I'm just going to, maybe I won't pay attention to my notes too much. They're kind of helter-skelter anyway. I want to start with just mentioning the production, because really I'm not going to talk about the music at all for this album review. Why would I, right? The production, I love the production on this album. I feel like this album is like a culmination of everything that Tyler does in terms of production and just essentially like peak Tyler production. Now, there's other songs that I feel like I like more in the sense of they're more to an extreme style. Like some of the stuff off of Cherry Bomb is great because it's so loud and distorted, and Call Me If You Get Lost has got some beautiful lush sounds, and Flower Boy does. But I just feel like this album specifically, musically, it covers all the bases really well. Okay, there's that. As I toss it to the side. For those of you who are able to join the live stream for the reaction, thanks for hanging out. That was really fun. The first listen on this album was really pretty incredible. I was hoping this would be a great album, and I feel like on that first listen, it surpassed my hopes, which was really nice. And then, as I do, okay, I'll put it on again and start listening to it on my own. And the first couple of listens, I put it on and I got, 4, 5, 6 songs in, and I was just like, I'm not gonna, For whatever reason, I wasn't into it. And I was thinking, well, that's odd, because I really liked the initial listen. And I realized this is not an album that I enjoy just having it on. I noticed very early that if I'm going to listen to this, I'm actually compelled to listen. It bugs me to have it on and not pay attention to it. And I thought, well, that's new. That doesn't happen too often. So then I was like, okay, I'm only going to listen to this when I have undivided attention. I can essentially listen to it all the way through, that type of situation. And I had a morning, I don't remember when it was, but it was early. I was up. I was like, you know what? I'm going to play some, do a little bit of gaming like I do. I was like, okay, I'm going to put it on. I'm going to put on Chromakopia and really, really listen to it while I play. I was probably playing Diablo. In that first listen, early morning, paying attention, a little tired, whatever, it just clicked. It really, really, really clicked. And the first thing I noticed on that full listen was what these songs and how they're just stapled right next to each other. We don't have a bald guy interrupting the flow of the album by talking after the end of each song. And then his mother being so present through the album, these little snippets, these voicemails, whatever you want to call them. I was like, wow, this album's actually pretty intense. It almost felt stressful in a way. And I thought briefly about a song called Mother by Pink Floyd, which is off their album The Wall. And I was like, I wonder if there's any parallels here. And no, I mean, not that he would even try to allude to that anyway, but in that song, Mother, the mother is very overbearing and controlling and oppressive type of a person. Tyler's mother is not that in this album. That her presence is none of those things. And I thought, okay, so then where is this stress, like this just tension that I feel when I listen to this album? Where is it coming from? Because the songs being just relentless, essentially, feeding right into the other. And his mother saying these things, giving him advice and all these different snippets. He was doing something. And I realized, for me, everything I'm going to say is my experience with the album. I don't know anything about Tyler. I don't know anything about his relationships, what he's concerned about. I haven't watched interviews. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, so this is just my experience of the album. To me, it felt like, sometimes we're up at night either you wake up or you can't fall asleep or whatever, and what do our minds start doing? They just start pinging all over the place, right? We think about this, we think about that, we think about this, we think about that, all these things. And if we're lucky enough, if we're kind of aware enough, we can realize, you know what, all these things that I'm thinking about and worried about and could be and might happen and what have you, a lot of this is just in my head, you know. And so sometimes we're lucky enough to see that and acknowledge it and go, okay, I need to just chill out and stop worrying about these things that are bouncing around in my head. Because this album, to me, flows like that. It flows like this thought and that thought and this thought and this concern and that concern, and just all over the place. But then I realized with his mom mentioning all these different things about wanting kids and don't fall in love and don't get a girl pregnant or don't tell her that you love her if you don't mean it, and you know, watch out for these accounts, all these things that she's saying. The stuff about his father. If you have these thoughts on your own, you can kind of dismiss them. But if someone else is saying them to you, essentially reinforcing them, and it's someone you know and love and respect, and it's someone who's been in your life a long time, these concerns essentially become realized. They become tangible. They're not just thoughts. You're not just stuck in your own head. And so then that's when I recognize, okay, that's where this stress, this tension I'm feeling is coming from. Is I feel like these are concerns that are essentially legitimized by an outside source as well. So I'm feeling these things, and this other person is telling me about them and warning me about them and all this other stuff. Now, there's probably some truth in that. Her saying these things could just be an amplification of something that isn't necessarily real. But the way he's expressing all these topics, abortion, love, judgment, not knowing his father, taking off your mask, finding your way home, like just paranoia, all these things. It feels like, you know, maybe she's seeing into him. There you go. Anyway, there's I kind of lost my train of thought right there. My son started talking in the background, and I heard it, and it ruined everything. It made my head super shiny again. So then I was like, okay, this is the element of stress that I'm feeling. This is where it's coming from. But then the real question for me after that was, well, what is the stress? Like if somebody's pointing out these things and it's all kind of revolving around this feeling of stress, what is the actual source of the stress? And to me, after listening to this a good handful of times, I come away with the impression that Tyler, the Creator, is essentially feels like he's being kind of ripped in two a little bit, like he's living a double life in several aspects. The most important, to me, the most prominent, I feel like, is this duality between artistic expression and entertainment. Right? It's very difficult to create something that's artistic and powerful and to do that well. It's also very difficult to be very entertaining and successful in entertainment and do that well. And it's even more so to do both of those at the same time. And as I followed Tyler through the years, which is cool, you know, it's cool to be back here with his music again when the channel started with everything that he was doing. I feel like Tyler approaches music from an artistic standpoint first. And I think that's great. I think that shines through. I feel like his concepts really start from an artistic standpoint. I think the care and the craft that he puts into it, you know, shows how much that matters to him. But he's also in an entertainment industry. So you can't have pure, raw, artistic expression and expect it to be wildly entertaining, because those two things usually don't mix. At least not in the sense of mixing so well that you become insanely successful and a big star and all this other stuff. And I think those things come to a head in the track Take Your Mask Off, when he gets into his verse about himself. What is it? Your beats aren't slapping and your raps ain't ranking and nobody's talking about your stage presence isn't in the discussion and your clothes aren't selling and you're stressed out and all these other things. And I started thinking about the entertainment industry in general. And I feel like with music specifically, music catches like a brunt of the entertainment industry that some of the other artistic avenues don't have to deal with, because people love talking about the numbers around music. They love talking about sales, and they love talking about streams, and they love talking about awards and number of albums and ranking the albums and ranking the songs and how many hit a billion. Just relentless. And so if you're this person who cares so much about creating art first, but then you're also trying to be successful in business, the numbers are essentially a way to quantify how well you're doing your art, but they're two different things. You know, some guy yelling from the window to the walls until the sweat drips down my balls kind of exists more in the entertainment category, right? Versus when, I don't know, Lana Del Rey says, you know, look, it's the most famous woman you know on the iPad, reaching out from beyond the grave to say, hi, Dad. That, like, when I hear that song, that one just sends chills through me. But nobody's playing that shit at the club, right? So there's just this huge separation between the two. And I feel like Tyler exists in this bind of trying to please both, to serve both. And it goes beyond the music too, because you've got relationships in here. You've got, you know, falling in love. He loves falling in love. I'm going to say that about Tyler for so many years to come, I'm sure. Loves falling in love, wants to be in love, but also wants to explore all these different, you know, he wants the one, but he wants that one too. And then maybe that one too. Oh, and she's kind of cute, right? Like he has that going on. He's got this whole thing, you know, with Like Him. God, it's kind of heartbreaking. Just this idea of chasing a ghost because you don't know your father, but your mom constantly reminds you of how much you remind her of him. Crazy hard. I can't. The mask thing too, taking your mask off. That's a no. Sorry, my brain's like, I'm trying so hard to just focus on one thing. The mask, take your mask off, and keeping your mask on. I feel like that concept is representative of, I'm trying to take my mask off in order to be a real person so that I can shine and let my art shine. But at the same time, because I'm so frustrated with online discourse and I'm so sick and tired of fans running up to me and shoving phones in my face, and I have to wear a mask to protect my own self from the industry that I'm a part of, in a sense. Maybe. I Killed You is another one that touches on that. Oh, that was it. The being a parent too. You know, Hey Jane and the abortion thing, and his mom wanting grandkids, and he probably even kind of wants kids, but he even mentions himself, you know, I'm too selfish, or I'm selfish as fuck. But that's another like dual existence right there. Yeah, maybe he does want kids, but maybe he doesn't want to give up his current lifestyle. What else do I have for notes? Anyway, it's just incredible. To me, it's an incredible album. It almost puts me through like just emotional paces. And not that I get super emotional listening to it, but I feel like Tyler has created something that takes almost like his tension, his ache, and just puts it in me, which probably sounds bad in terms of like an experience, right? But to me, it just speaks to how well done this album is. I don't know anything about the guy. I can't even imagine what his life is like, yet I can listen to this album and almost feel the stress that he's expressing, which is incredible. And the final track too really speaks to me. Actually, Like Him and Balloon, there was another, I wrote a note about how with Like Him being so heartbreaking, and then it drops into Balloon, which on first listen to me was very odd to go from that song into that sound of Balloon, because Balloon almost sounds like a circus game tune or something, like a carnival song or something. I don't know. And I wonder if that sound is, that beat is supposed to associate with, the show goes on and life goes on. Like, yeah, you can sit around and be as sad as you want, and you can chase this ghost as long as you feel you have to, but it really doesn't change anything. The show will go on because you're into the entertainment industry. And even if you weren't, life goes on. And then the final song, I Hope You Find Your Way Home. I was thinking the phrase, home is where the heart is. And how much he says in Take Your Mask Off. And to me, I feel like the final track wraps up with an idea of, I really hope I figure out who I am. Who I am. Because this album leaves me with the feeling of, sometimes, I don't know if it's the same, but for those of you who have experienced it, you've got one foot on the dock and the other foot's on the boat. And the boat's starting to drift away a little bit. And now you have to decide, what am I doing? Am I hopping this way or am I staying here? Those of you who have had to make career choices or move across the country, or like a lot of us have probably been there, where we have to make this substantial decision. And it feels like either decision is both wrong or both right. So how do I choose? Anyway, that's probably the best I can hope for in terms of how I feel about this album. Hopefully this video made sense. It's another thing that's entertaining to me is when I sit down and make these, I talk for 16 minutes and then I don't even remember what the fuck I said. Oh, the kitty's on the table. Oh, you can't see Kitty. There he is. He's behind my bald head. Chasing the laser pointer. What a good kitty. All that to say, incredible album. Incredible album. I want to say these things about, to Tyler, but it's, what is there to say? I feel like anybody who can make an album like this, as open as it is, as vulnerable as it is, as powerful as it is, angry as it is, there's a full range of emotion here. Normally I would feel a little compelled to say, I hope this person, does find their way, and I hope they sort this out. I feel like he's already doing that. So while on one hand, there is a part of me that would like to, feel concerned for Tyler and hopefully he gets things sorted out. On the other hand, I feel like he's already on his way. Whichever direction that is, I feel like he's already on his way. Okay, y'all. There you go. Take care. We'll see you soon.